Hey guys, Kate here. Sorry I'm a few minutes late, had some technical difficulties, per usual. So, Hoerner Happy Hour. Sorry we're doing it early this morning with the holiday week. Happy 4th of July if you're Americans, by the way, or Canadians, Happy Canada Day. Late, I know. But everyone's kind of all over the place this week, including me. So I wanted to hop in this morning, get this over with, so that anyone who couldn't make it could see it later in the day. And I don't mean get it over with. I love these. Get over with early, do it early so you guys can see later. So we have 3 topics for today. Good questions, everybody. Remember, ask your questions in the group, Indoor Cycling Instructors Crew. I'll get to them every week when we do Hoerner Happy Hour. Before I get started, quickly, just a reminder, it is now July 5th. If you want to get the Cycle Poet DIY program. So I already released the coaching program, but the do-it-yourself version is coming out August 1st as soon as I finish with my coaching clients. And you can buy it for a huge discount if you buy it before August 1st. So I put the link in the captions. I actually did it this time before the video. So if you're interested, you can click on that link, read all the details, and make sure you sign up before August 1st. You still have plenty of time, but I know a lot of you are interested, so I want to keep reiterating because I know people are on vacations and stuff like that. So just make sure if you want it, you'll get it on August 1st. You'll have full access to it forever, but you want to get it now so you can get the discount. Anyways, hopping in. First question we had was from Lynn. So, hi Lynn. The question was about teaching with video screens. So there are a lot of different ways. I'm assuming what you meant based on what I read was like the Les Mills Trip. You can Google that if you aren't familiar with it. Les Mills does RPM. They also have something called Trip. I believe that's the name, where it's basically a big video screen, like a huge screen. It costs a ton of money to set up. So I know a few studios that do it, but it's very expensive. New York City has a couple. So it's a giant, almost like a movie screen, and they take you on a ride using all the almost like virtual reality stuff. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, Lynn. I know also at actually, this is probably more what you mean. At gyms, when there isn't an instructor available, if someone wants to take a class, they can go in and they can choose from videos and basically take it as if the instructor was there with them. The video acts as that. So it's almost like on a Peloton. Hey, Gisette. It's almost like on a Peloton, you know how those have the screens, and you've probably seen the commercials if you haven't actually seen one. There's an instructor on the screen, almost as if that person is right in the room with you, similar to that. So it is becoming more popular to see things like that. People want to be able to do things on their own time, and they still want to have a great ride. There is nothing that compares to having an actual instructor in front of you. So if you're asking because you're worried if that's going to take the place of you, I would not be concerned about that in the slightest. There are some things that, technology is going to start taking over for us, but in a job like what we do as instructors, where you need the energy, you need kind of the camaraderie, you need someone there to be pushing you, to be exciting you, a TV screen doesn't do it. It just doesn't. So I wouldn't worry about that. I honestly haven't seen it pop up. I'm in a city, I'm in Boston, and I don't really see it in many places. I know there's a gym called HealthWorks that does it a little bit, but I don't think many people use those videos. Maybe a little bit more for like the weightlifting kind of classes, because some people just go in there to get it done. It's not really about the experience. In spinning and in indoor cycling, it is very much about the experience. It is very much about the instructor. I've pulled people on this before, asking them what their absolute top number one thing they need to be great, to be able to go to a cycling class, and it's usually always the instructor, right up there with the music. So keep that in mind. I wouldn't worry about it. We will see more of that stuff happen. It's just the nature of the business. People are always going to look for the cheaper way to provide someone with something that they need. I mean, you see it now. We have a lot of at-home workouts, DVDs, Beachbody. People like the convenience of being able to do it on their own time, all that. But at the end of the day, when people come to a group fitness class, it's because they want more than just the workout. They want you, they want the people around them, they want the energy, they want the excitement. So that's how I feel about that. If you disagree, I'd love to hear, but that's kind of where I stand. We'll see what happens. I mean, over the next few years, that might change, but that's where I'm at now. Martin asked, so this is a good question, but it can get complicated. So he asked about, well, I guess you told us you're getting into heart rate training and power training, which is awesome. Love that. I would say that if you're looking for a power program, and I'm not sure if you are, I couldn't tell if that was something you were asking, the Spin Power program is awesome. I really, really loved it. I still go back to a lot of the materials all the time. I think they did a great job with it. I know there are a few others out there, and I've only heard good things. If someone's going to take the effort to create a power program, they probably know what they're talking about. Well, I won't say that because not everyone does. But if you have specific programs you're looking at, definitely ask me. I've seen a bunch of them. I know a lot about it. But in terms of a heart rate monitor, so I use the Polar. I think it's an H10. There's also the H7. I think they're both pretty good. And I would also recommend Garmin. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot on the market. If you have access to Consumer Reports, they have a website where they review all like gadgets and cars and everything. My dad got me into it way back when. I haven't been able to get into my account for a little while. I'm having some issues with the website. But if you're able to get access to that somehow, that would be a great place to look to check out reviews of the products. Otherwise, you can just kind of look around. There's a lot of different review websites where you can check this stuff out. I would think that the Polars would always be close to the top because there's something just about them that makes them so good. They've been around forever. I've had mine for a while. I just recently got a new one a couple years ago, but before that I had it forever, and it's always been really good. So check into that. I'm sure there are a lot of options. It's hard to, with technology where it is at this point, they're all pretty good. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you want to start cheap, just until you get into it a little bit more, and then maybe get yourself a nicer one once you know what you want, that might be a good idea too. So let me know if you have other questions on that. I know you're going through a lot of different stuff if you're getting into all that training, so you're probably going to have questions. Come here, ask them. And then last, Kristen asked about teaching on bikes without a monitor and how to kind of explain resistance and cadence to your riders. So first, I think you were asking specifically resistance. So I would just always say, and I've said this before, when it comes to describing resistance, it's one of the toughest things we have to do as instructors, right? Because if they're not at the right level of resistance, then they're not getting the ride that they should be getting. So first and foremost, I want you to practice getting good at cueing what it should feel like, right? Not how many turns or what number or what number range. I know a lot of people do that. I get it. It's easier that way, but it should feel a certain way. So if it's going to feel like a flat road for me, but it feels like the girl next to me or the man next to me is on a hill, then we're not doing the right thing, right? So you have to be able to describe, okay, it should feel like a flat road. It should feel like a heavy hill, like your feet are getting stuck in the mud, right? Things like that, cues like that, practice that. Aside from that, you can use a rate of perceived exertion. I know a lot of people do this. I think some people mention this in the comments as well. That is very common. You can use a scale of 1 to 10. I personally think that becomes a little bit confusing because there's so many numbers there. I used to use 1 to 5. I usually, honestly, full disclosure, right now I'm at a point where I just describe it as best as I can. It works better for me. It seems to work better for my students to not have a specific number that they have to gauge, because you give people a scale, they don't necessarily know what that scale looks like for them. So it's hard to, unless you're walking them through that scale at the beginning of class and showing them what each place feels like, it's still hard to gauge. So you really got to get good at explaining what everything feels like. And it does take practice, but the best thing you can do is just hop on the bike and you practice, like by yourself, outside of class, get to a certain gear. Okay, what do you want this part of your class profile to look like? Okay, great, get to it. What does that feel like? Describe it for yourself. Are you having a lot of trouble lifting up your legs? Okay, great. Explain that to your class when you're explaining where they should be. Things like that don't seem as intuitive, but they really are once we get more comfortable and confident in it. And it's especially hard for you because you're going from having a monitor to not having one. So it will take more practice, but you will get there. So you could start with that rate of perceived exertion, and then, give them a number, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever it may be. And as you're giving them that, also get more comfortable with describing what those feel like, and it'll just become second nature over time. So when it comes to cadence, if you don't have a monitor for that, I would highly recommend just using the beat of the music. It's the best way. It's the best way for people to hear where you want them to be. It's the best way for you to find where you should be. And then you can also tell them to look at your own feet. That's another way. I always tell people we have screens, but screens, beat of the music, and then watch me. And usually they're able to find at least close to where they should be. Without the monitor, you can use that beat, and you can use your own legs, have them look at you. They'll get there. But it does take some practice. It's definitely not easy to go from using a screen to not using one. I think most places have screens at this point, so I wouldn't be surprised if eventually wherever you're at gets them. But just do your best. I mean, it's actually kind of freeing, I'm going to be honest, to teach without those screens in front of you, because we get so used to relying on the numbers, and it actually gets people, the cool thing, it gets people super focused on you instead of looking down at their screens the whole time. So it becomes more of an experience. I really believe that. I used to teach at a place without the monitors, and it was cool. Everyone was just in it. They had no focus on numbers, no focus on metrics. They were simply just focused on the rhyme and focused on you. So enjoy it, because it's kind of cool. All right, guys, that is all I had. I don't see any questions in the comments, so I'm going to let you go. If you have anything else, you ask in the comments. I'll come back and check, or just post it in the group, and I'll check it for next week's Hoerner Happy Hour. All right, everybody, have a lovely rest of your week. I'll see you later.